So Samsung replacing their J series with the M series is evident by now. They have launched 3 phones in the M series with so many updated features and stuff. The J series smartphones were good, but other smartphones from Chinese companies were a lot better. It was high time that Samsung did something about it, and with the M series, they are really trying. So what we have today is the Samsung Galaxy M10, Samsung's attempt at the budget category. Well, the budget category has been a weak spot for Samsung lately, so will Samsung be able to change that with the Galaxy M10? Let's find out. First off, the design of the Samsung Galaxy M10 looks not so new. It looks cheap and feels the same in your hands, especially with the speaker grill at the back, which used to be a feature in very old Samsung phones. But compared to what we used to get in the past, this is an improvement. The plastic back has a glossy finish and is not a fingerprint magnet as we usually see on glass or other glossy back phones from Oppo and Vivo. The build quality is decent, sturdy enough, exactly what you would expect from a phone at this price range. It is plastic, so durability might be a concern, but when it comes to taking abuse, we know that plastic bags do a much better job than glass or metal bags, even though they don't look or feel so premium. This phone, however, feels a bit hollow inside, like the weight distribution is off somewhere. But there are no creaks, no bending or things like that, so it's okay. I am, however, unsure about the front display glass's protection. I have used it without any screen protector and there have been minor scratches up until now, but nothing serious. To talk about other aspects of the design, all buttons are on the right, which includes a volume rocker and the power button. The buttons are also tactile enough. Thankfully, there is no Bixby button here, but being a budget device, we cannot expect Bixby and it's not there as well. The display here is a big 6.2 inches IPS LCD and not the AMOLED one, but it's pretty good for a budget phone. The resolution is only HD+, so don't expect all that sharpness. In terms of brightness, it is stellar. Even outdoors, there is literally no problems. And this is something you cannot say for most Samsung phones even today. The color reproduction is fine too, crispy and vibrant. I cannot say I disliked any part of the display really. And look, Samsung has also included an auto brightness sensor here. For the price, this is as good as it gets. One thing I have to complain is that while its outdoor brightness is remarkable, its minimum brightness is still too bright for the taste. So if you have a habit of using your phone before going to bed in the dark, it is going to be somewhat difficult for you with this phone. And how can I forget the notch at the top? Of course, Samsung is a company that has been ranting others for having ugly notches on their screens. But this time they have a notch up top and calling it the Infinity V display because, well, it's a V-shaped notch. I smell hypocrisy as Samsung used to make a lot of fun of notches, but to be honest, the notch does not look that ugly and it's easy to get used to. Looks like Samsung understood this as well. On to the performance, the Galaxy M10 packs an Exynos 7870 processor and not the rumored Exynos 7872. But with this SoC, everything runs as expected. Of course, this chipset is around 3 years old. It was first seen on the Galaxy J7 2016, and the fact that they have been using the same chipset on even the upgraded devices bugs me a little bit. Did they make a truckload of 7870 chipset? Because it seems like they have been using it from the same batch. But the performance leaves very less to complain about though for a budget phone. The unit I have right now has 2 GB of RAM, but for that, the performance is quite good. The user interface is smooth enough, there were no lags or any kind of stutters either. Apps like Facebook, Instagram and YouTube run smoothly. Games like Asphalt 9 runs pretty smooth too, albeit in low settings. PUBG is playable too at lowest settings. The frame rate isn't that good actually, but it is still playable without much hiccups. And it is very unlike Samsung to provide something this good at this price range. So there is not much to complain, but again, they should have gone with a more powerful chipset. The phone will also be available in 3GB and 32GB variant, and that might be able to perform slightly better. Moving on to the software, this phone still runs on Android 8.1 Oreo, but Samsung has announced that this phone will get Android Pie later in August, so I think we shall bear for that time being. And of course, since it's Samsung, you get Samsung Experience 9.5 designed for Galaxy M series on top of it. So it's more or less similar to a typical Samsung phone with a few changes. There are obviously a bunch of bloatware and unwanted apps, but you can always choose to disable them, so that's a nice feature to have as well. And since this is Samsung's first phone with a notch, the implementation of it is quite good. There is also an option to hide the notch under display settings inside full screen apps, and you can also set a personal preference for each app. And if you find Samsung's navigation buttons organized in a wrong way, then that too can be changed from the settings menu. From here, you can also switch to gestures instead of display button navigation. Apart from these, there aren't worth anything mentioning in the UI or software. This phone packs in a 3400 mAh battery, which is a very good size for a phone at this price. With this battery, you can easily get over 6 hours of screen on time with ease. Plus, the display is only HD, and the 14nm based Exynos 7870 chipset helps in battery optimization. With half an hour of PUBG, 5 hours of YouTube, 30 minutes of scrolling through social media, and about 20 minutes of smaller games, this phone still had 60% of battery left, and that is insane. But to be fair, it was all at minimum brightness. But you get the idea though. I also started my day with 40% battery in it, and I was fairly confident that it will last me an entire day, and it did. I had 5% of battery left at the end of the day. The standby times were also great. The battery dropped by only 3% when kept idle for around 10 hours, and this was without even turning on any kind of battery saving. And Samsung's effort to optimize the battery really shows. I did not expect this, and I am pretty happy with it. The only thing it lacks is the USB Type-C port and fast charging, but with the 2A 5V charger, it took around 2 hours to get charged from 0 to 90%, so it is not all that bad. Now let's talk about the cameras. We have seen dual cameras on budget phones these days, and the M10 is no different. It has a dual 13+5 megapixel camera, but the secondary 5 megapixel lens here is not a depth sensor, but a wide-angle one. That is a strange convention, but it is good to have a wide-angle lens as it is a nice touch. The camera quality from the primary 13 megapixel lens is nothing to go on about. Basically, there are less sharpness and details. Also, the autofocus is slow, and there is no autofocus for wide-angle lens. What I found strange was the wide-angle lens has better colors and dynamic range when compared side by side with the primary 13 megapixel lens. You might also notice a bit of fisheye effect in the images from the wide-angle lens, but that can be fixed later by a shape correction option. But what it does is just crops out the fisheye bit parts of the picture, so I don't know what to say about that. There is also a live focus feature for taking portraits, and without the depth sensor, the portraits are as expected. The bokeh isn't aggressive enough, and unlike previous Samsung phones, you don't get an option to adjust the blur or choose the focus area before or after taking pictures. On the notch we talked earlier, there lies a 5 megapixel front camera, which is pretty good. The details are okay, actually better than the rear camera. The selfie portrait is done by software and looks decent as well. You can also find a smart beauty option that smoothens skin and removes blemishes. It's not that aggressive as you see on Oppo or Vivo phones, which is good. There are also a few stickers which are fun to use for some time. Other than that, there is nothing worth mentioning about the cameras. Talking about videos, you have option to record from the wide-angle lens as well as the primary lens. But I suggest you choose the wide-angle option mainly because of 3 reasons. Wide angle, better stabilization, and better colors. Overall, the camera is not a wow factor, and they could have made it a lot better. To round up other aspects of the phone, the speaker seems a bit tiny. It is loud, but the sound quality is not very enjoyable. And since the speaker grill is on the back, it is easy to muffle while laying it on the table. As for the security features, it does not have a fingerprint sensor. There is facial recognition, which does not work in low light and is very inconsistent. That is, it works sometimes and sometimes it does not. Talking about call quality, it's not excellent, I would say. Again, there is dedicated SIM slots and a micro SD card slot, which is good. Also, it has DRM Widevine L1 security, so if you watch Amazon Prime content or Netflix content, you can watch it in HD or better. I am bringing this up because even in celebrated phones like the Pocophone F1, we don't get this feature. Besides that, there is not much to talk about. After all, it is your regular Samsung phone with some revamps and upgrades. So to sum up, the Galaxy M10 is a good upgrade over Samsung's previous budget phones, and it has considerable amount of upgrades except for the chipset obviously. But still, this is the company's best effort so far. They are really trying to listen to the customers. It has been a long time that we have been telling them that they need to improve on their budget and mid-range lineups, and finally they are listening. Having said that, I still feel that it is not good enough, especially in India where it is targeted to. For instance, you get the Redmi Y2, which is known as the Redmi S2 in Nepal, which has Snapdragon 625 processor, which is a better performer than the 7870. Also, it has better cameras than the Galaxy M10. So Samsung has improved, but has it improved enough to cut out the competition in every aspect? Not really. Yes, it can compete with the present contenders out there, but beating them will take a lot more effort. Yes, the Galaxy M10 is a good phone even among the top ones in the Nepali market, so they're trying, guys. They're really trying hard. But even for all that attempt, this is not still the best budget phone out there. Am I willing to give Samsung the benefit of doubt and use this phone over the others? Maybe yes, for once, considering the best in-class after-sales service they have. But Samsung, keep in mind that you still have a long way to go. So that was our review of the Samsung Galaxy M10. Tell us what you think about the device in the comment section below. Also, do tell us if you want to see the M10 in your country too. Till then, I am Pratima Adhikari and thank you for watching. Also, do not forget to watch the review of the M20, which is out now, and do subscribe to our channel.